Punji Stake Trap. Bamboo, a cultural symbol of Vietnam, also doubles as a battlefield interior designer. The Punji Stake Trap. It sounds simple, but it truly is a terrifying device. People sharpen bamboo into points at both ends, stick them into a wooden board, then place that board down inside a pre-dug pit. On top, they cover everything with branches and dry leaves to hide it. In dense jungle, this trap is almost invisible. A single misstep by a patrolling soldier and he'll fall straight into the pit. The bamboo stakes can pierce a person, causing severe injuries and throwing an entire unit into crisis. And don't think that's all. To increase the effect, trap makers smear filth, from feces to other filthy substances, onto the tips of the stakes to cause infection. In a humid forest environment, bacteria flourish like mushrooms after rain. If the victim doesn't receive timely medical care, the consequences cascade into a heap of problems. Pain, infection, slowed movement, needing to be carried by comrades, and most importantly, the cries for help can lure the whole unit into an ambush. One person hit by a stake is enough to make those behind hesitate. And you know, when people start hesitating, who dares go forward? Whip trap. Also made of bamboo, the whip trap is a more interesting and far more sophisticated version. Instead of rigid stakes, people use long, thin bamboo poles with high elasticity, bent like a drawn bow. One end is fixed to a tree or post, the other held by a thin cord. When triggered, the energy stored in the bamboo is released, and the whip lashes out with terrifying force. The trick is to hide it in underbrush, along trails, places soldiers commonly pass. The strike can cause very severe injuries, broken bones, large tears, or wounds that leave a person paralyzed. To increase the fear factor, people often attach sharp pieces, iron hooks, even razor blades, and sometimes smear filth to cause infection. The psychological effect of the whip trap is even scarier than the physical damage. One person hit makes the whole squad pull back because they don't know how many other whips are waiting ahead. This kind of FOMO, who wants to lead when you have no idea how many traps the path is hiding? Hammer trap. If the whip trap is frightening, the swinging ball trap is a heavyweight version, even more so. People make large, heavy balls, from wood, metal, even a mix of mud and straw, and hang them high, surrounding them with sharp spikes, metal shards, rusty nails. The swinging ball is hidden up high, the trigger cord stretched across the path so thin it's hard to see with the naked eye. When someone carelessly catches the cord, the ball will fall or swing down with great force. The result? Severe injuries, even instant death. If the victim survives, they will be in pain, with spikes lodged in them, causing deep damage and easy progression to death from blood loss or infection. The unit's morale is immediately affected. One hit like that can throw the whole team into panic, everyone wondering how many more death balls are waiting ahead. You see, in the jungle, a single slip can make everything collapse. Don't lead or lead very carefully, otherwise you'll be the one to miss out on peaceful life. Cu Chi tunnels. If you think the above traps are scary, welcome to the hellish, the Cu Chi tunnels, what American soldiers called a tunnel nightmare. These tunnels are so narrow that only one person can crawl through at a time, each carrying a flimsy flashlight and a handgun. Deeper inside, you meet a maze, 3-way, 4-way, even 5-way intersections. Some passages lead to soldiers' shelters, others lead straight to hell. In front of American troops, there was only thick darkness, scattered mines, laid traps, venomous snakes, scorpions, and cunning gorillas ready to ambush. You wonder if anyone sane would volunteer to go in. Of course not. So they formed rat teams. Small, agile, fearless soldiers who specialized in clearing the tunnels. They crawled in the dark, facing everything you normally only see in horror movies. And here's the thing, even American soldiers admitted many were haunted for life, unable to sleep in dark rooms, startled in elevators, terrified of any tight space because they kept imagining being trapped in a tunnel. Having to use rat teams is living proof that when your enemy knows the terrain and fights guerrilla style, even a strong opponent is helpless. I have to say that Cu Chi tunnels are a very interesting place. It's like an underground city of the Vietnamese army, and if you want me to make a video about the war in Cu Chi tunnels, where Vietnamese soldiers lived underground all year round and American soldiers died trying to get there, comment about Cu Chi tunnels below. Snake trap. If you fall into a pit on the Vietnamese battlefield, besides sharp bamboo stakes, there's something American soldiers feared most: snakes, and not tame ones. They would put entire clutches of highly venomous snakes in the pits. For example, pit vipers, which American soldiers called the two-step snake. Bitten, you might take 2 steps and that's it. There weren't just 1 or 2, but whole teams. Mother snakes and babies coiled together. Just step into the pit and dozens could spring out, biting relentlessly until the victim was paralyzed within minutes and had no chance to climb out. Even more creatively, people stuffed snakes into backpacks. When an enemy searched a pack and opened the lid, bam, a swarm of snakes would leap out. This method worked because it caused instant panic. Who would dare to rummage carefully after snakes brushed your face? This kind of battlefield FOMO is clear. Nobody wants to be the one to open the bag first. B-trap. The story of Mr. Nguyen Van Tu sounds like legend. He was a creative guerrilla who trained wasps into living weapons. Instead of training soldiers, he trained insects, raising nests, feeding the wasps beef and buffalo meat so the colony grew fast and became vicious. He hung a wasp nest suspended over a battlefield already packed with mines, punji stakes, and pit traps. A perfect trap complex. When enemy soldiers fell into the trap, he pulled a cord. The nest burst and the swarm struck like a storm. When attacked by hornets, American soldiers often screamed, dropped their weapons, and ran in panic, and that panic led them straight into the other traps. Some fell into punji pits, others stepped on mines, some jumped into ditches and then hit other traps. Explosive trap. This is the kind of trap that strikes right at human curiosity. In war, when someone sees an intact motorbike, who wouldn't want to rev the throttle just for fun? And at that very moment, boom, a mine or grenade cleverly hidden in the gas tank explodes. Shards of metal fly out, sharp as razor blades, piercing straight into the body. It wasn't just motorbikes. American soldiers also loved souvenir hunting, and that was a deadly weakness. The Vietnamese army set traps in almost anything, from toolboxes, backpacks, to flags. The infamous exploding flag trap worked so that when the enemy tried to lower the flag, a grenade would detonate instantly. It was so effective that the US Army had to send out an urgent warning. Don't touch anything the enemy leaves behind. It could all be a trap. In other words, every time an American soldier reached out for a trophy, it was like playing the lottery with death. Bullet trap. If explosive traps terrify with their spectacle, bullet traps haunt with their subtlety and cruelty. The design is simple: a small hole the size of a hand with a bamboo or metal tube placed inside, loaded with a real bullet pointing upward. At the bottom, a fixed iron nail is set in place. When an American soldier accidentally steps on it, the body's weight forces the bullet against the nail. Bang! The bullet fires straight into the foot. The sound isn't loud, just a dry crack, but enough to leave the victim writhing in pain. The unit has to stop to give first aid, slowing their march. The perfect time for an ambush. Even worse, if the round is large, like a shotgun shell, it could shred a foot completely. And if someone happens to bend down at the wrong moment, that shot could be the last thing they ever see. What makes the bullet trap so vicious is its near invisibility. A tiny hole, no wires, no signals. To detect it, you'd have to sweep with a metal detector very close, and usually by then, it's too late. So out of all these nightmare traps, which one do you think is the scariest? Comment below and let us know.